When he davens in Fifth Avenue Synagogue, the guy next to him is davening him that his IPO should come out strong. When he davens in Shayoshin for Yom Tov, he's davening next to a guy who says, I hope that maybe I could buy shoes for my kids for Yom Tov.
That's pretty good. That's yeah. Funny. That's funny. Anyways. All right. Fine. So we are up to, actually, this is, now that I finally think I have shot in this Gemara, which I don't mean to make it sound like it's so hard. But now at least it's in the lumdus of it, it's pretty geschmack. So we said yesterday, much to Naftali Liner's chagrin, right, that if you made a neder from somebody, you're allowed to pay his machzas shekel, you're allowed to pay his loan, and you're also allowed to return you're allowed to do hashavas aved, right? Even though l'chara, that's giving something to somebody who you made a neder that you're not going to benefit from, or benefit to benefit him or benefit from him, right? So that's what's going to be the sugya on this next daf, which is, what are we talking about in this mishna? We're talking about who's not allowed to get benefit from who, right? Meaning it's pashut that if I made a neder not to get hana from Naftali Liner, right? So then I'm allowed to go pay back Naftali Liner's loan, right? And I'm allowed to go pay his machzas shekel. I only made a neder for me not to benefit from him, not him to benefit from me, right? The Shaila is the other way around, right? If I say I'm not benefiting from him, and then he goes to pay back my machzas shekel, which is something he would do, right? And he would pay back my loans, do it too, right? So at least I think, right? So then he would do that. So then we said yesterday that's not considered hana, and he's allowed to do it.
Shouldn't this Gemara be before yesterday's Gemara?
Why?
It was discussing why what we discussed yesterday is allowed or not allowed.
Yeah, no. So yeah, why not?
So shouldn't have been before.
What should what have been?
The Gemara discussing the rules of what is considered
that's part of the sugya. Oh. This is part of the sugya. So the Shaila is, so by those two, it's pretty clear cut. By hashavas aveda, though, which way is the Mishnah talking about? The Mishnah says you're allowed to return the aveda. Which way are we talking about? The guy who's returning the aveda is the one who made a neder that he's not going to benefit from the owner of the thing, right? Meaning, let's say I'm the owner and I lose my watch. And Naftali goes and finds the watch, and he wants to bring it back to me. So we're talking about where I made a neder not to benefit from him, in which case he's returning me my aveda, so I'm benefiting from him. Or is it talking about where he is not benefiting from me, in which case he could give me back the aveda?
No, but he'll get in good with you by giving back the.
So that's one. Will he get in good? Yeah, but I don't know. That's toivas hana. That's a different, right? Okay. That's toivas hana, meaning yes. So now he's going to get the. Yeah.
I'd rather find Must's watch than find the Simon's watch. You know what I mean?
That's true, right?
And that is, you're not allowed to have enough for me.
It's both ways. That's the Shaila. That's going to be the Gemara Shaila. Which way are we talking about?
That I'm not allowed enough from you.
I would watch out when Naftali starts taking things that all of a sudden he starts returning things he finds, you know?
Yes. But anyway, so that's gonna be the Gemara Shaila. Now, what would be the benefit? What would be the benefit if Naftali found the object and he's returning it to me, and he made a neder not to get hana from me? What kind of hana would he be getting from me? Without the type of hana that you're saying, but what hana would he be getting from me by giving me back the object? Right? What's hana? He's doing me a favor. I'm not giving him anything. Obviously, I can't give him a reward, right? Which we'll see. That's the last line in the Mishnah, that some places had a meaning that you do give a reward, but assuming we're in the place that you don't give a reward. So what's the schar mitzvah? So there's a Machlokes in the Gemara above Mitzia, right? Is it Bam Mitzia? Pruta de Rabbi Yosef.
Please.
So I'm sorry, no, Bava Kama. It's a Bava Kama.
It's both.
Right?
It's an Eilam Matzias also.
Is it?
But
Okay.
hekdesh.
Oh, okay. So
Oh,
what
no,
in the
it's something
Bavas? In the Bavas, yeah, it's in the. What's the difference? It's in
Right.
the Bavas, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
So meaning when somebody returns an aveda,
It's like sewers also. Sure,
could be when somebody returns an aveda, he's Isaac b'mitzvah, potter min mitzvah, right? Meaning when Naphtali went and found my watch, let's say, now he's driving to bring the watch to me, and an ani comes and knocks on his door and says on the window and says, "I need money." Naphtali can blow him off and say, "I'm sorry, I'm Isaac b'mitzvah, I'm potter from tzedakah." That's worth something, right? There's a hana there for him returning because since he's Isaac b'mitzvah, potter min mitzvah, so therefore he is gaining something from me because I lost this thing. Miilah Naphtali is saving himself money from not having to give tzedakah. So the question
Is he saving
that
the money
called
or he's getting a mitzvah? You gave him the opportunity to get a mitzvah.
Nobody's saying
No,
I'm
but that's
saving
not
money. I
good.
don't
So
have to get
mitzvah's
tzedakah
lav
now.
so mitzvah's lav lahanis nitnu, right? But he is gaining something because he will save money on his tzedakah, right?
That's also a mitzvah.
That's true, but there's an actual hana that he could be getting by being potter from a mitzvah. Yeah.
You don't have to spend time on it. So somebody gives you $10, you're going to Kennedy Airport to go to Eretz Yisrael, and he gives you shliach mitzvah to give stock in Cleveland when you come back to America. So you don't have to give any of the niyim in Eretz Yisrael because you're Isaac mitzvah. You have that $10 bill in your pocket.
Maybe that's where it came from to give shliach mitzvah money.
Maybe it doesn't have that it.
But the mitzvah's not here. You're being a.
No,
So wait,
think about it.
Naphtali walks into you and returns your item, and he says, "Thank you for saving the money I was going to give to tzedakah.
Correct.
Now I don't have to."
Yes. Yeah.
But is that the right attitude to have about another mitzvah?
No, but that is the din. You're forgetting the right
Yeah.
attitude.
Byron, so that means you shouldn't have to put on tefillin because you're Isaac the mitzvah?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you could do both. It's absolute to be.
Well, there's actually yes, you have to give for that also.
Yeah,
You don't
so
always say
that's what
Efshir
I'm
Chaim
saying. You doesn't
Shnehem.
have to give. You
You
could
don't
give
say
to
Efshir
Duncan
Chaim
and Shnehem and bring
Shnehem all
back
the
the
time.
money to Cleveland.
Excuse me, sir. When a guy's traveling and he's Isaac mitzvah, he doesn't have to stay in his sukkah. Was Efshir Chaim Shnehem? No, the din is he doesn't have to go find the sukkah.
If he's traveling, he doesn't have to. He's Isaac. He's not.
Byron, how come
right.
that doesn't help for Amon Chalamaytrip, which is a mitzvah?
It depends where you're going on the Chalamite trip.
That's true.
You call the yeshivas, they make a sukkah out of the way.
There's some there are. It's a Machlokes between Rav Moshe Feinstein and Rav Shema Zalman and Rav Yashiv. They held that if you're going on a voluntary trip on sukkahs, you still need a sukkah. I'm sorry, you don't need a sukkah. And Rav Moshe held if you go on a voluntary trip, you do need a sukkah.
It's not voluntary. I'm forced to do it.
That's tsar. Okay. No, I was thinking last night by a chas, right? It was in a chasen in Lakewood. I think there were more collectors there than people.
Once you're in tsar, you don't have to eat in the sukkah anymore.
That's yeah. I'm saying there were more collectors by this chasen in Lakewood than people. I'm saying it's a guzma, but there were a lot of collectors. And I don't have money on me, but now I have a watch that you just click it and it makes a credit card payment. So I did it to one guy and he was just shocked. Like, what, did you just pay me from your watch? So I said, this guy must be a good collector because if he doesn't know what an Apple Watch is, then he must be the real deal. Okay. But then I just got fed. I couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't do it. But why was I not Isaac b'mitzvah? Right? I actually danced. I know you're going to say, yeah, because you sit on the side. No, I was actually dancing.
Actually gave the daf.
That's true too.
By the way, I was going to pull you out on that one.
Yeah, take a video of it because it doesn't happen that often. But anyway.
That is Isaac b'mitzvah. You wouldn't be chayiv and stuck while you're dancing.
Right, no, the same thing if they come over during Pesukah de Zimmer, because Kriya Shema. You don't have to give them. Right? Okay, whatever it is. So the bottom line is that's where the Hana could be. So again, that's the Gemara Shaila. What are we talking about? We're talking about where the finder is the one who made a neder not to get benefit from the guy who owns it, right? And what would the benefit be? That he saves money on tzedakah. Or I know the way saying it that way, I hear, David, what you say. They're saying it that way makes it sound like you're trying to use a mitzvah in order to get out of another mitzvah. But okay, but that's what it is. Or is it just when the finder has a neder not to give benefit to the one that owns it? So that's a Shaila. So let's see. So we're halfway up on Lamed Gimel Beis. Don't worry, it's a short daf. It's a short daf. Parrot is getting nervous. I don't know where he is in the haunted house or something, but
it's going to take longer than some of the other dafs.
That could be. We're ready. Okay. So anyway, so Machlokes is Avedasa. So you give him back his Aveda. So Pligi Baravami Baravasi. So Machlokes is Ramami Baravasi. Chad Omar Loishon Olav the Shenichse Machzir Assurin Abal Aveda. This is only talking about the nichse threw me off, mamish. I think I also have PTSD from Nechasim, nichse milug from elementary school. I don't know what went on over there, but I see the word nechasim already. I'm already 2 strikes. So, anyways, I don't know why the Gemara puts in the word nechasim here. It's just all it's saying is that who made the neder on who? That the belongings of the guy who's returning the Aveda is assur on the Baal Aveda, on the owner, right? Because when he gives it back, meaning when the person who finds the object gives it back to the owner, midam denashe kamahadale. He's just giving the thing that belonged to the owner back. So what kind of hana are you giving to him, right? Meaning, again, using our example, if Naftali is bringing me back a lost object, the watch, right? And I assur that I'm not getting any hana from Naftali. So what kind of hana am I getting when he gives me back my lost object? It was my watch to begin with, and it's my watch afterwards. He didn't do anything for me. He just happened to have brought it back. He didn't.
So you don't say thank you to him when he brings it back? Of course, there's hana. You have to have it back.
Yeah, I know, but it's not. But there's a hana. Yes, there's a hana, but it's not a hana. It's not a direct hana from Naftali, right? Meaning that's not called
it's the
being
same thing
nena
that you
from
borrowed
Naftali.
your hammer from your neighbor on the left instead of going to the right. That's what we said yesterday.
Yeah. Now, the way the Rosh says it, now, David, you're saying a good thing, but the Rosh on the side here says, mitzvah ba'alma ka'avid, the loy mahani le'midi, meaning, believe it or not, the guy's doing it for a mitzvah's sake. He's not doing it to help me, right? I made a neder, I'm not benefiting from Naftali.
I mean, Naftali is, but that's besides
Naftali, yeah, okay, well, he's a tzaddik, a dumb tzaddik, but he's a tzaddik, right? Because he's helping me. But right, there's a fine line between a tzaddik and dumb, right? But anyways, so he's helping me because of the mitzvah, not because he wants to help me. So miilah, I'm really not getting any benefit from him. That's one way. Aval, but what about the other way? Aval nichse ba'al aveda assur al machzir. But let's say I said that I am not going to give hana to Naftali, right? Meaning he's the bala, I'm the bala veda, and I'm saying that I'm not going to give him benefit. Then he's not allowed to give it back to me. Why not? The kamahani le pruta de Rav Yosef. That's what it's called. Pruta de Rav. Every sugya has its name, right? This is called pruta de Rav Yosef, right? There is a pruta of benefit because Naftali, by bringing me back the aveda, is potter from giving tzedakah that whole time, and miilah, that's worth a pruta. Now, why does it say pruta? Because a pruta is the smallest denomination in Torah, right? So he's saving that the minimum he's saving a pruta. So therefore, he would not be able to give it back to me, right? That's one way of looking at it. And the other one says, even when I said that I am not going to the owner of the Aveda, is not allowing benefit to the guy that found it, Mahadale could still give it back. So what about that the guy who found the Aveda is getting hana because he doesn't have to give tzedakah during that time? That's not a problem because It's not common that punct while Naphtali is bringing me back the watch, right at that time, what's the chances that a guy's going to knock on his window to collect money from him? What's the chances? So since it's a slim chance, we're not worried about that. And therefore, when I make a neder that I'm not giving benefit to Naphtali, he is allowed to still return me the object. Right? That's the Machlokes, Rav Ami, Rav Asi. So again, it's not so complicated, at least I don't think. It's just, again, it's a Machlokes whether, according to everybody, so if he makes the neder that I can't benefit from him, he's allowed to return the object to me. That's no Machlokes. The Machlokes is the opposite. If he's not allowed to get benefit from me, is he allowed to return the Aveda? Which again turns everything on its head, because I would have thought the exact opposite, which we're going to see is the next gears of the Gemara. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the end of yesterday's daf. Okay, now today's daf. Yeah. So Tanan onto Lamed Aleph. So now the Gemara is going to ask a fairly simple question. Tanan, right? So what does it say in the end of the Mishnah? If you're in a place where the person who gives an Aveda usually gets a tip, right? It doesn't sound like a tip from the Mishnah. The Mishnah says he takes his schar. He does take rewards. And that doesn't sound like it's a tip. It sounds like you're required to give it to him. A guy gives you back your watch, you have to go and you have to actually pay him for whatever time, whatever it is, time and a half, whatever the deal was. So if it's that type of place, so hekdesh. So you can't give it to him, right? You can't give him the schar because he made now. What would the case be? It's fairly obvious, right? Again, if they're talking about a city where the guy who finds the object gets paid, so then we say that money can't go to him because I'm not allowed to give him the money. Using our example of me owning the object and of totally finding it. So clearly, that's got to be talking about a case where the neder was that Naphtali can't benefit from me. Otherwise, why can't I give him the money? Right? If the ban in the Mishnah, if the neder in the Mishnah is going on that I'm not allowed to benefit from Naphtali, right? So then what's the problem? Right? Why can't I pay him? He's allowed to benefit from me. I'm just not allowed to benefit from him. So it has to be that's the case. So the Gemara says, if you go with the mandama that says that both ways, even when the belongings of the Baal Aveda is going to be assur for the person that's returning it, which is again, Naphtali can't benefit from me. So Nami Mahadar, you're also allowed to give it back. Hainu the Katani, that's what it says. That if it's in a town where the finder gets schar, people are not hekdesh. So that's why you have to give that not to hekdesh, because we're talking about both ways. I'm not allowed to benefit from Naphtali, and he's not allowed to benefit from me. So of course, if there's going to be money to be paid, it has to go to hekdesh. But if you're talking about the case where if the owner of the lost property has a neder that he's not going to give benefit to the finder, right? So it's not mahadar. Amai tipal anola hekdesh. Why should you put the what do you call it? The hano has to go to hekdesh, right? Since he's allowed to benefit from me, so why can't he just take the money? Right? Again, if we're only talking about the case where I'm not allowed to get benefit from him, he's allowed to get benefit from me, so then why can't I just give him the money? Elamai, that's not the case. So it's a kasha on the shita that says that it's not both ways. So Gemara answers, and there's a little bit of a cryptic answer. It says achada katani. It's going on one of them. Right? So, meaning, if the guy who had found the Aveda says he doesn't want to keep the money, right? So now I can't keep the money either. Meaning, let's say it's in a town where they pay the finder. So Naphtali comes to me and he brings me the watch, and I say, okay, I owe you $100, right? So let's say he's allowed to benefit from me, so he's allowed to take the money, right? But what happens if he says, I don't want the money? So can I keep the $100?
No,
No, because then I'm benefiting then I'm getting that's benefit from Naphtali. Right? Again, if the neder was that I'm not allowed to get hana from Naphtali, so the Gemara was saying, okay, so why can't I pay him money? So the answer is you could pay him money, but what happens if he turns it down? So now what? I can't keep the money because that's like Naphtali giving me $100. He just saved me $100, right? Really, I'm chayiv to pay him $100. By him not taking it, I'm keeping $100. So therefore, what's the issur? The issur is give it to hekdesh, right? So that's the way the Gemara is mataretz it.
And that's different than supporting one's wife.
Yeah, because that guy doesn't have to pay. He doesn't have to pay.
But he doesn't have to pay either. He was Michael.
What?
He was Michael. But that Michael is what.
No,
caused
but
it.
this guy doesn't. The husband doesn't have to pay me. Didn't.
Right. Okay.
Right. He doesn't have to pay. Here, that's what I'm saying. When I said
Tell you,
tip,
just accept it.
Yeah, man. I'm being quiet.
when I saying, well, no, that's what I'm saying. When I said shot that it's a tip, it's not a tip because a tip taka might be that if a tip is just a bonus, so then maybe I wouldn't. If it's just a tip, I would be able to keep it because it wasn't anything that I was mechuyev to give, right? But here we're saying that we're chayiv to give it, right? Okay, so then the Gemara says the opposite, right? Ika demasni la b'hai lishna. Pligi ba Rav Ami v'Rav Asi. Chad amar lo shanu ela b'shem nichse ba'al aveda assur al maser. That the whole din in the Mishnah is only that is where the owner of the lost thing, like myself, in using the example, is assur to the master, to the one that's doing the Shabbos Aveda, Umshum proved the Rav Yosef, and the reason why it's assur for Naphtali to give me back the lost watch is because he's going to save money by saving money on tzedakah. I'm sorry, I explained the word. It's not a concern because it's not common. So therefore, he would be able to return it for me. But if the belongings from the machzer are assur onto the balaveda, meaning I'm not allowed to get hana from Naphtali, then he can't give it back. Right? Mishum de kamahanile, because that's giving him hana. Now, this is totally the opposite of what we said. Here, we're saying that there is hana by giving somebody back his lost object. Right? This is a total about face, which is what an ika demasnila is. Again, according to the first shot from the previous Amud, a guy can give back somebody's lost object and he's not really giving hana because he's giving something that belongs to him. Oh, we said, but Lamaisa is doing him a taiva. That's for he's doing it for the mitzvah. This Gemara is saying it's the opposite. The guy who gives him back the Aveda is giving him something back, right? And that's why he can't, and that's why he's not allowed to. That's one way. And the other one says, even if the guy who returns the Aveda is assur on the owner, mutter, it's still mutter to return it. Midi, when he's giving it back, the nafsheka mahadar. He's giving, I'm sorry, the chimahadar midi the nafsheka mahadar. When he's giving him something back, he's just giving him back his what belongs to him. Right? So basically, we have whatever options you want, or whether this is called hana or not called hana, we have in the sugi here. Not only that, but the reason why this is such a short Amud, it's not even as short as Amud Beis, is because there's girsayis issues with this whole Gemara. So not only do we have girsayis issues from the Amoraim, we have girsayis issues from the Rishonim, exactly how to learn this whole thing. But either way, so that's two ways to learn it. Again, the main nafkamina would be between the two ways of learning is somebody who is not allowed to give hana to somebody else. Can he be master the Aveda? Can he do a Shabbos Aveda? If somebody makes a neder that he will not give benefit to somebody and then he finds his lost object, can he give it back or can he not give it back? According to the first girsa, he could give it back because he's just giving the guy something that rightfully belongs to him. And according to the second girsa, at least according to one shita, it's not allowed, right? Because he's benefiting. So the Gemara asks, Tanan, same kasha, if it's in a place where you pay the guy for returning the lost thing to you. Tipal hana hekdesh, you give another hekdesh. So so if you're saying, if you go according to the one that says that when the guy who's returning the lost object is assur onto the owner of it, that's why you're saying this Gemara of Makam, right? The mishna of Makam, that if it's a Makam, if there's a place, then you have to return it to the hekdesh. But according to the one that says that it's talking about where the one doing the Shabbos Aved, in this case, Naphtali, he is assur. It's assur from me to get hana from him, but loy mahada, and you don't give it back. So heichi mitaratz makam. So what does makam have to do with it, right? Why can't he take it back? It's not he. It's only talking about one way, meaning again, Naphtali found the lost object, and I have hana. I'm not allowed to get hana from him. So that means I'm allowed to pay him, right? So what's wrong? So anyways, we want to leave off with kasha. Okay, it's a kasha. So again, there's two different gersois, but that's that whole sugi, and then also we get into issur mitzvah potem and a mitzvah. Fine. On Talmud Beis, this seemingly has no shaykhis to this Gemara at all. Right? The next Gemara right after this, 3 lines below this, does have to do with it, but this next one has nothing to do with anything. So if the Amud Aleph was a little complicated, this part is a new thing. So Amarava, Hoysalafan of Kikar Shel Hefker. Let's say a guy had a bread from hefker, right? And the Rashi in the Mefarish points out, and it's kol shekain if he owned the bread. But this is talking about the chiddush, that even there's a loaf of bread sitting in the street, right? And the guy says Kikar zo hekdesh, and the guy goes and he makes this loaf of bread into hekdesh. Now you're going to say, how can he make it into hekdesh? It doesn't belong to him, right? So they said no, because since he was standing close enough within Dalet Amos, so then he's kainet, right? It's also sugim v'mitzia. So instead of him being kainet, though, he decides he's going to be a generous fellow. He doesn't need this loaf of bread, so he's going to donate it to the Beis HaMikdash. So again, he goes over to this loaf of bread and he says, "This is hekdesh, not la eichla." Then after he made it to hekdesh, this was not the smartest thing in the world for him to do. He picked it up and he took it to eat it. So then mal lefi kula, he was over on miilah, and he has to pay the whole thing. Now miilah is by mistake, right? Miilah is when you take something from hekdesh, you did it by mistake. So what's the din? You have to pay it back plus a fifth, right? So this guy made this kikar into hekdesh, then he picked it up and forgot that it was hekdesh, and he ate it. So he's over on miilah. Let's say he picked it up l'hayrisha lebanov. But let's say he picked it up and he said, I'm going to take this loaf of bread and give it as a yerusha to my kids, which I don't know how long the guy planned on staying alive, where he's leaving as a yerusha, a loaf of bread for his kids. Okay, but that's what he did. So mal lefi toivas hanoshava. So then he's only over on miilah for the amount hana he would get, that his kids know. Oh, you see what our father just did? He put away a loaf of bread for our yerusha. So then they say, I better go take care of my father because he actually gave me a loaf of bread.
Was a loaf of sourdough nowadays than it is now?
Yes, sour. You're right. Sourdough. Sourdough. Maybe
was a loaf of bread more chashuv then than it is now?
Well, a sourdough. That's what Yeshua is saying.
I guess so, but
I mean, how fresh is this dough going to stay, anyways? Right. But okay, whatever it is. So all the Gemara is saying,
my father must really love me.
Listen, that's where dough comes from, right? They left dough. You leave some dough, maybe.
That's why it's called a kikar. It's a term of silver. The weight of silver is a kikar. But besides that, is when he said kikazu hekdesh, was he kind it for hekdesh, or is that a nether?
No, it seems like he made it into hekdesh.
You could be kind of something for hekdesh. How are you kind of something for hekdesh from?
No, he was
making a Kenyan.
No, that's what we're saying. He was Toich Dalet Amos. So Memel, instead of him being kained, he was kained for hekdesh.
But it's Gitav Yod Boin Ke'achad?
I don't know if it's Gitav, I don't. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. But that's what
Each to the punch cash. I asked that this morning. Yeah.
Oh yeah. There you go. But I think that's a pshat. So either way, so the Gemara is just saying an example of how you could be over a miilah. If he decides to take the loaf for himself, he has to pay the whole thing. If he's taking it for Yerusha for his kids, then he's not really benefiting from this loaf. So therefore, the only benefit he's getting is the Toivus Hana. Okay, that's a parenthetical Gemara. What are you saying?
One of my relatives, we have a chat about the anaklach of my Zayda. So one of the relatives put it on this morning, and I realized maybe he's talking about this Gemara. So he said there was some. I'll try to say it quick. There was somebody came into bakery and he got 6 loaves of bread, and did it like 5 days in a row. The baker doesn't say, what is he taking every day 6 loaves of bread? So he says. So he asked him one day. So he says, 2 is for me and my wife to eat. 2 is to pay back a chayv, and 2 is to lend out. And then again, another. So finally, he said, "What are you talking about?" So he says, 2 is for me and my wife to eat. That's what we eat every day. 2 loaves of bread. 2, I bring to my parents. I'm paying back the chayv of all the years they supported me. I'm paying back the chayv, and 2 I'm lending out is to my children. So Mitzvah Shem, when I'm old, they'll pay me back like I'm doing to my parents.
Interesting. Okay, maybe you think that's based on this Gemara?
I don't know. It just could happen today on the chat. I don't know.
I hear. Okay, interesting. So anyway, so that's what the guy's trying to do. So fine, that's the Agav Gemara. Now here's the so Bomine, 4 lines down. Bomine of Pia Barava Meirav. So here you also need a little dicta. It's not hard, but it's Kikri Alecha. My loaf of bread. He says, my loaf of bread is on you, meaning that's a lashon of a nether. Right. So I'm telling. I'd say that my loaf of bread is also to Naphtali line. Naphtali picked a good night to sit across from me here. Right. So that my loaf of bread is assur on you. Then then I go and give that loaf of bread to Naphtali. Mahu, is he allowed to benefit from it or not? What's the Shaila? I just said that the bread, making a nether that he can't have the bread. Oh, because the Shaila is the terminology. Kikri Amar Loi.
Not your kicker anymore.
Did I say to him, my loaf of bread is assur to him? So that's only when it's in his rishus, meaning in my rishus, is it assur on to Naphtali. But once I give it to Naphtali, it's no longer in my rishus, no longer my kicker, it's his kicker. So in miilah, he's allowed to eat it. Maybe we go with the alecha. Again, I said 2 words, kikri alecha. So the first time the Gemara is that the main focus is the word kikri, my loaf. So when I give it to him, it's his loaf, he could have it. Or is the word alecha the main thing? And ilave shavise hekdesh. And basically I'm saying, on you, this loaf of bread is assur onto you. Finish, no matter how you get it.
Didn't we have a Gemara where you have to have something to change its status? Not.
What do you mean?
Didn't we have a Gemara? We had something. You have to have a get or something. You have to have something to the tree that falls. The tree fall, and we had it a few days ago.
That's already a long time ago. A few days ago.
To get it off.
You mean it has to be a kinyan?
Yeah, something.
Yes, we're talking about where you made a kinyan. You're talking about you took the loaf.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's enough to get it off.
I guess. I don't know. Let's see. I would think. Anyway, so that's the Shaila. Again,
is this the same Shaila as when a chas and a guest owns his portion of food?
Oh, so we're going to get into that. I don't know if we'll get into that exactly, but maybe, right? We're going to get tomorrow's daf is whether a kohen, who's a kohen, a shliach, right? Is he a shliach of the Rabban Shalom? Is a shliach of us? So can he give hana? Can he not give hana? Anyways,
okay. So Dr. By a chassan, you have somebody come for Shabbos lunch. He just walks out with the plate of deli.
or gives it out to other people, right? So that's a Shaila and also tzedakah if that's allowed. What's the das of the owner? Either way, so again, the Shaila is the emphasis on kikri, which means my loaf of bread. In which case, if I give it to you, now you're allowed to have it, or is it alecha, which means it's assur onto you? In which case, it's assur onto you forever. So Gemara answers, Armalei pshita the afagav the yavle b'matana. It's pashut that even if he gives it to him matana, assur, it's assur. Right. So if that's the case, so then what's he saying the lashon of kikri? So then what is kikri? My loaf. If we're saying that the emphasis is the alecha, and therefore it's always assur for the recipient to have that loaf of bread, even though it changed property. Ela kikri alecha la fuke mais. And why is he saying the word kikri alecha? What is that coming to exclude? Lava fuke di ganva mine mignav. It's not coming to exclude if the guy steals it. I mean, what was my kavanah when I said Naphtali can't have this loaf of bread? What are you going to say? That my kavanah was in case Naphtali steals it, I want to make sure he doesn't get hana from it. That's pashut. Well, who would think that Naphtali is going to steal the loaf from me? So therefore, what can it be? Kikri alecha. The only option could be is that I meant that he not allowed to have it forever. So Gemara, so therefore it has to be that it is assur to him. So Gemara says not true. Amralei, loy, no, not necessarily. Lafuke, it's not coming to exclude the matana. Lafuke di azmne Allah. Let's say I invite Naphtali to come eat by me. Right? So what I meant by that is Naphtali, it's assur for you to have this loaf. And I mean that even if the loaf of bread is by me, it's still going to be assur for you to take it. Meaning, even if I invite you over to eat in my house, you still cannot eat this loaf of bread. Right?
So
that would be the hekdesh.
Okay, it's a das. The Baruch did it to Adam. It's a das. He gave him a beautiful chas in the hall, and he said, "This one you can't eat from."
Okay. Yes, I mean, even though he invited him to eat, so he's saying, so that's what it is.
Yeah.
So that's what the hekdesh of the Gemara is saying, is that even if I invite Avada, we're not concerned that he's going to steal it. And obviously, we're not talking about where he gives him a present. That's the way he is answering. So what is it coming to exclude? It's coming to exclude that even if the guy who told Naphtali, let's say me, who told Naphtali he can't eat from this kikar, even if I invite Naphtali over, it's still going to be assur. Okay, the Gemara is going to ask on this another kasha, but that's tomorrow's Daf Bez Hashem. All right, fine. Have yourselves a fine, whole, and healthy night.
All right, so Yaakov.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. A church around the corner from me is having a big sale of like old furniture and stuff, and I would like to go buy some bookshelves. There's some really nice looking bookshelves, but it goes to, it's a Seventh-day Adventist church.
Does it come with lights?
What?
Does it come with kratzmach lights?
No, only the tree. But it goes to fundraising efforts for the church and its programs. And I have to go inside of the church. But I can get big gazunta bookshelves for $25.
You have to go into the sanctuary or just into the property?
As of right now, I don't know.
Is it a problem with Seventh-day Adventists?
They still believe in Yoshki.
Yeah, but not as an avodah zarah. They don't believe in the trilogy, whatever it's called.
I mean, you can hold a lot of people. By a lot of people, say it's not the whole thing is not an avodah zarah. So
no, but I'm saying even if you hold the Catholicism as avodah zarah, Seventh-day Adventists may be different. Part of their belief is that you didn't come first.
Parents, hit the recording. I'm in no place to possibly believe. I would say Lamana Shalom and Kiddush Hashem maybe today.